I was thinking about social anxiety, and I think social anxiety can convince us that the world is separated into two different groups, them and me. And we strive and we fight and we claw and battle to be part of the thems. But this is a fallacy, because the thems are just a compilation of me's. And I think the most important thing that we can do is to be the most you that you can be, so that the thems can benefit from having a true connection with a truly wonderful person. So, in this session, we are going to be dissolving your social anxiety. I have some fun little tools here that we're going to be using, and we're going to wash away any of that resistance, self-criticism, and anxiety that comes with these social situations. So all you have to do is just sit or lie back, relax, and just let this healing wash over you like rain. And if you're new here, welcome. It's so nice to have you. If you would do me a favor and subscribe if you're new here, that really does help me out. I am a Reiki Master practitioner and teacher. I love teaching you how to channel universal life force energy. So if you would like to work with me and learn how to become a Reiki practitioner as well, I'll leave links down below to work with me to gain your Reiki level 1, 2, and 3 certificates. I'm also a published author. My book, Self-Love, was a bestseller on Amazon under the energy healing section. So I'm really excited to connect with you in different ways, and I'll leave those ways down below in the description box. But welcome, welcome, welcome. Over the years, as I have kind of honed my skills and received so many messages and comments from you about what you're struggling with, something that comes back time and time again with my clients, with you, with my students, is about overcoming anxiety, all different types of anxiety. But one that surfaces time and time again that's often very connected to confidence is this social anxiety. Fear of being seen, fear of being perceived, fear of stepping out of your comfort zone. And I think one thing that's really helpful to recognize is that everybody faces these fears. When we have this kind of disconnect and this belief that this fear is specific to me, I'm alone, I'm isolated in this fear, that isolation is sort of the breeding ground for shame. And when we feel shame, it really becomes a wet blanket on our joy, and it makes it so difficult to kind of shine through when there's such a damper on our spirits. So what we want to do here is, shame can't exist when it's exposed, when it's shared. Brene Brown does a lot of research on this, but I think one really cool thing is that the moment you start speaking about your shame, the power it has over you relents. And so I want you to really recognize that it's not about oversharing and going out there and kind of flooding people. But instead what it's about intentionally owning and accepting your shame. And so if there are moments from your past that you feel really embarrassed about, really shameful of in social situations, first of all, everyone has experienced things that are just as embarrassing, if not more embarrassing. I promise you, I've had more embarrassing moments than you have. trust me. So it's really important just to recognize that everyone has their shame stories. Everyone has their embarrassing social moments. The thing is that when we start to think we're alone in having those, that's when it can kind of start to take control. So we don't want to own our anxieties and own our shame in the sense that we're going to wear it like a cloak and say, this is who I am, I have this shame. Not at all. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to say, I take this into my heart. I recognize that that version of me that was in that situation, that behaved in that way, or had this thing happen to them, that happened, and I can have compassion for my younger self. Even if this happened last week, it's still your younger self. I can have compassion for that because everybody's been through it. I am not alone. I think we tend to really magnify our embarrassing moments. And gosh, I wish I could just convince you that it's really a choice. It's a choice. You can reframe these things because embarrassment, it really is just a choice. Going into the shame spiral, all dark and cozy in that little shame spiral, it really is a choice. And if you can start to train your mind to reframe the narrative around the circumstance that happened, that can be so supportive for you moving forward. I want to talk a little bit about alter egos, creating an alter ego for yourself, because I think it can be really helpful. And I'll tell you a little personal story. I'm not going to be lighting anything here, so we're just going to extend our disbelief. So, recently, I tried playing around with this idea of the alter ego, and I really love this concept. It's a psychological concept wherein in certain anxious situations, you develop an alter ego who would behave in a certain way in those situations that can help you kind of bust through them. So I think it's called something like the superhero complex or something. Anyway, so my personal story here is that growing up, I didn't have glasses, but I couldn't see very well. I didn't get glasses until I was about 17. And I just kind of navigated life with things just being blurry. And so when I would kind of, move through the halls in school, or when I was, playing soccer, or, in social situations, it was a lot of kind of guesswork, right? It was a lot of estimating distances, just estimating someone's facial expression. And because of that, when I noticed recently that when I'm walking in really crowded places, I get a lot of anxiety because I am worried about where to go, how to kind of navigate a crowd. And I was saying this to my partner, and he was like, oh, I don't know what you mean. He couldn't relate to it at all. And that's when it clicked for me. I love those moments when you go, oh, this is an unhealed thing for me. So I realized, I kind of went back and did some processing and realized that was why, that I had always had this sense that I have to be really careful. I don't know where I'm going to go, so I have to be constantly on high alert about how to kind of navigate these situations. And I started to implement the alter ego mode, and who I chose was Laura Croft. Don't ask me why, it was just the first name that came to my mind. But I started asking myself, how would Laura Croft act in this situation? Because I have glasses now, and because I can see. So the perceived threat, such a silly threat, like what's the worst that's gonna happen? I'm gonna bump into somebody. But that perceived threat is not real. It's not in balance with the reality of the situation and the actual threat and risk. So what I did was when I'm walking through the street every day, I would just practice in a moment when I started feeling anxious, Blaircroft. And it would just really help me to recognize how silly it was that I was doing that in the first place. Not to say that it didn't still feel scary and it wasn't still present for me. It wasn't like I recognized it, I'm healed. How silly, Hannah. No, but instead what it's about is like, oh, I have so much compassion for myself for living under this illusion that I had of the threat. I had really magnified how scary it was. And in reality, it really wasn't that scary. So we can kind of play around with this idea of an alter ego in situations where you have a lot of anxiety. You can play around with an alter ego. You can give them a name. I would encourage you to make it as specific as possible. If there's a character from a movie or a book that you really resonate with, then do that. Really make it as specific as you can and start to kind of meditate on how they would react and respond in every situation, especially those situations that you feel really, really scared and anxious about. I've been loving using these beautiful incense sticks. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to use this smoke to start to dissolve your anxiety. All you have to do is just do a little bit of breath work here. We're going to be doing slow, deep inhales, inhaling calm, and slow exhales, releasing tension. Inhale, calm, release tension. And it's almost like you're breathing in that calm to give you the power and the encouragement to push out all of the tension in your body. So you can really slow this process down and maybe even kind of do a seated or lying down, kind of like a cat-cow. When you breathe in, kind of extending and opening, and then when you breathe out, just kind of pushing it all out. So while you do that, inhaling calm, exhaling tension, I want you to start to kind of imagine who this version of you might be. Maybe you're just going by your middle name. Maybe that's always felt like, I love my middle name. I want to start going by my middle name or calling myself that in these moments where I start to feel anxious or scared. I think it can be really, really helpful when we break down the different voices that we have in our minds, the different aspects, the different kind of fears that we engage with. The moment I started doing that, it became so much easier for me to kind of turn down the volume of a voice that was really, really critical. And just recognizing when I analyzed that and when I sat with that, when I kind of accepted that voice and just said, oh, this is the voice that wanted to make sure I didn't step out of line for fear of how, the environment where I grew up and how they would respond to me being less than perfect. If you grew up in a really critical background, family, if you grew up in a very judgmental family, if there was, trauma and abuse and things like that, then of course that's going to linger, right? And if you've done that healing work, that's incredible. And this is just to encourage you to kind of deepen that work and just try your best to engage in the kind of healing that accepts all aspects. When you can take, a younger version of yourself, this is also called inner child healing and shadow work. But if you can take a part of yourself that really struggled at a certain time. So if you can see this aspect of yourself that maybe you found unacceptable, and if you can take it and you can look at it and you can just try to shift and sort of look at it from the perspective of a really good friend of yours, or look at it as your inner child, your younger self, or look at it like as a beloved family member or friend or partner, or, someone that you really care about. And, first ask yourself, would I ever reject this person for behaving like this? Would I ever shame this person the way that I shame this version of myself, this aspect of myself? More often than not, absolutely, you would not. You wouldn't do that to somebody that you love. So we have to treat ourselves at least as well as we treat those that we love. But I think we have to treat ourselves even better. We have to love ourselves even more. Then our cup can bubble over and we'll have so much love to share with others. So what I like to do in these moments is, shadow work is really about when you were a child, what aspects were you taught and told that were not acceptable? And so you blocked and hid and stuffed all those qualities that you have into a box, locked it away, shoved it into your shame closet, and have been like, please don't come out, please don't come out, please don't come out. What this kind of shadow work is doing is going into the shadow, opening up, looking at these aspects. And what I like to do in this process is take them into my heart and accept them. Sometimes that's all it takes, is just to accept the parts of yourself that you were taught are unworthy of acceptance. It's a real act of rebellion. It's also very difficult to engage in this kind of healing if those same voices are still part of your current daily vernacular, if you're still consistently being influenced by those same people who are saying those same things, some same critical things that try and convince you to keep those aspects of yourself in that shame box. Or if you have, made friends and relationships along the way that have those similar qualities, those same people the same qualities as the people who were shaming you in the first place, not the same qualities from the shame box, but that people who are very judgmental, who are very critical, who don't accept certain aspects of you. And so if you're doing this kind of work and they're, trying to shame you, mock you, make fun of you, ridicule you for doing this kind of healing work, that can make it very challenging, So what I encourage you to do here is just to recognize that this is a process. The process of social anxiety. A lot of people like to just say, oh, I have social anxiety. That's all I want to talk about. I don't want to touch it any more than that. I have social anxiety. But the thing is, there is healing on the other side of this. I promise you there is. All you have to do is accept that this is how you're feeling. This is how I'm feeling right now. This is the feeling that I'm having. And we've spoken about this, but if you let the feeling run its course unimpeded, it will last 90 seconds to be fully processed chemically. So if you can just allow that emotion to process within you, not attaching to stories about this, not attaching or creating narratives to this feeling, but instead just allow yourself to feel the feeling, feel it in your body, breathe through it. The emotion comes up. Where is there tension in my body? Emotions often are accompanied by tension. So just notice that, tend to that tension, breathe, ask the tension what it needs. Does it need you to repeat some words of affirmation? Does it need a hug? Does it need some physical touch? Does it need a little gift? Maybe you go and you get yourself a nice glass of water or your favorite, beverage. I like hibiscus juice. Jamaica. Agua de Jamaica. But you can have any kind of really soothing kind of gift for yourself. Give yourself those love languages. Fill your own cup. All right, let's light our sage and do a little bit more dissolving here. Oh, don't you just love the smell of sage? It's so nice. If if you're nervous or worried about a particular event, right? Then what I would encourage you to do is to rehearse how you're going to be in that event. I don't mean what you're going to say and, how you're going to relate to people. I mean more so rehearse how you're going to feel, how great you're going to feel, how confident you're going to feel. Embrace making mistakes in social situations. That is going to free you up from your fear, because something that I've noticed is anytime I have a fear about something and then that fear kind of comes to fruition, I always realize that it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. That either I'm so much more capable than I thought I was, or that, it's actually not that scary of a situation. So in these social situations, the reason that we have this fear of social situations, this fear of being perceived, this fear of being seen, this fear of making a mistake, this fear of coming across in a negative way, the fear of being misunderstood, which all fall under the category of, social anxiety, is because this part of our brain, this part of our neurology was developed when to be an outsider from the group meant that you would starve, meant that you weren't going to be fed, have clean water, that you were going to be perceived as an enemy, and so you were going to be battled against. So it's really important to recognize, this part of my brain is just old circuitry, it's old wiring. So I just have to recognize that. Listen to all the people who are, doing research to help us combat this, accept it, understand it a little bit better, and then really just say, this is part of my human experience. But if you're having, a lot of anxiety about a specific event, a specific social event, dress rehearsing that can be really helpful. Saying to yourself, okay, I'm going to feel so good when I do this. When I make that little mistake and then I kind of laugh and smile at myself, I'm going to feel so proud of myself for putting myself out there. I am going to be so incredibly proud of myself for my ability to stand strong in the face of my fear. I am going to feel so good about myself because as I put myself out there, put myself out of my comfort zone, I am developing new circuitry that tells me that I am okay and safe in these situations where I am safe and okay. So that's just really, really helpful to recognize, because so often what we're terrified of is doing something that people, if that kind of worst case scenario, let's say, I don't know what your worst case scenario might be in a social situation, that people laugh at you, they ridicule you, they mock you, maybe because of something you said or did. Maybe you farted in public. Maybe you tripped and fell in front of a bunch of people. Maybe you said something really embarrassing, whatever. People are not going to remember that. You're going to remember it, but people aren't going to remember that. Very, very likely, they are just going to be thinking about themselves. They might think about you for a moment, but then they're going to think about themselves, their lives, what they're going through, maybe what they're embarrassed about that they did. So I just really encourage you to recognize that when you're starting to feel really self-conscious and anxious, just open your eyes a little bit to the fact that, everyone in this room is a person just like me. And everyone in this room is experiencing some version of what I'm experiencing. That's why people tell you to picture people in their underwear whenever you're giving a speech, is just to humanize everyone in the room. It's not a wall of thems. Oh my gosh. It's just a group of humans, just like you, just like all the people that make you smile and laugh, with their own insecurities, with their own baggage, with their own strengths and weaknesses and beauty and intrigue and fun and excitement and goofiness and joy and humility and embarrassing moments. So I also want to encourage you that of all of the people I've met through working with you, connecting with you in this way and through our sessions here, everybody I've met in person, all of my friends, all my clients that I've worked with, everybody that I've worked with, met, most people are genuinely good at heart. Just go to the comments if you want to see that. Most people are compassionate. And when someone makes a mistake or messes up, the people who ridicule or laugh, those are the ones who have the most shadow work to do. Those are the ones whose box of shame in their shame cupboard is flowing over things that they were taught and told that they are not acceptable about themselves. When I was at my most miserable was when I was the most judgmental of others, when I was the most critical of myself and the most terrified of being perceived, was when I was the most analytical and critical and judgmental of everyone else out there, because I was so scared of what they might be thinking and seeing in me. So it's just so important to just sort of open up to the fact that, oh, we're not as different as we think we are. This session is really a very cleansing session. I hope you feel clear and cleansed, because in order to step into this new radiant, beautiful energy that we're creating here, I really want you to recognize that you're going to have to release some of this past. The past, if you associate yourself with having social anxiety, that's just how I am. I'm an introvert. What you're doing is you are furthering the groove in your mind that says, because it's scary to put myself out there, because it's scary to step out of my comfort zone, you're just solidifying that groove in the synapses in your brain. And what you want to do is you want to create a new synapses. You want to create a new a new pathway, a new neurological pathway that helps you believe in what is true. And what is true is that everyone's going through these things, and it's really not the end of the world for you to feel embarrassment or feel rejected by people or to feel like the odd person out, because you're really not. If you can reframe it for yourself and just recognize that connection takes time and vulnerability, then that'll help you realize that in order to have true connection, you really do need to be comfortable being your authentic self instead of constantly trying to fit a mold of somebody else. Because then you're never giving someone the opportunity of seeing and knowing your true self. And honestly, the people I'm most drawn to are the people who are the most willing to be themselves. The people who are the most willing, not flooding at all, but the people who are the most willing to, sit in their authentic resonance. And those are often the kindest, warmest, friendliest, most compassionate people as well, because they recognize that all of the aspects that you might be ashamed of in yourself, that those are mirrored back in them, that they have a connection to those exact same vulnerabilities, or vulnerabilities that feel just as strong to them. And so owning your vulnerabilities, using them as a strength, I think it's really, really powerful. But using, that idea of a dress rehearsal, really thinking through and holding space for, I am so grateful that this event went so well. I am so grateful that when I plucked up the courage to talk to my crush, I was able to stand, and my voice was shaky, but I was able to stand in my full power and say what I wanted to say, even if it didn't come out right. I was able to put myself out there and try, and I'm so grateful that I did that. And hey, at the end of the day, that just makes it a lot easier for me to do it next time. So there's no attachment to the outcome. There's no trying to shift or adjust. It's just about framing and owning and embracing all of the aspects so that you can choose kind of what you're letting bubble to the surface. So if you have your boardroom, your psychological boardroom, and you have those that, deal with fight, flight, and then you have those that deal with rest and digest. And then you have all of the other seats at the table that deal with all the specific aspects of your life that you need that assistance with. You can name all of these aspects and just be like, all right, this one's coming to the front now. She's going to be saying something. This one's coming up. He's going to be saying this. They're going to be telling this story. Whatever that is, connecting with the fact that you have energetic support systems within you, because the same system that wanted to protect you so much that it wanted you to put all that shame in a closet, that same system is built just to support and protect you. So having a dialogue with that system that just says, okay, I so appreciate that you're trying to help me, but actually that doesn't serve me anymore. So I'm going to take this box of shame and I'm going to open it and we're going to go through it in a safe environment where I feel really safe with a therapist or, someone that you really trust and feel comfortable with. And we're going to look at these things and I'm going to do this kind of inner work and inner healing. That can just be so empowering, because if you accept all aspects of yourself, the nerdy, the goofy, the silly, the embarrassing, the human aspects, then you're going to be impervious to the jabs and pokes of others, because you are fully accepting all of the aspects of yourself. Those things are not trigger points anymore, because you've pulled them into your Anahata chakra. You've pulled them into your heart chakra, and you've said, you have a place here. You have a place here. You're safe. And you are safe. You are safe. You are so much safer than you realize. You are so much more protected than you're accessing. There are energetic forces all around you that are protecting you. And you can call in when you're feeling really anxious. You can just say to yourself or aloud, I call in all of the benevolent supportive energies around me to envelop me in an orb of loving, healing, protective light while I move through this circumstance, this event, this thing. I allow myself to be supported. I ground myself in my safety. And if you can start to develop routines and rituals and affirmations around how fantastic it is to put yourself out of your comfort zone, that can be so helpful. And having something, this is a tree agate, having something like a stone and using it as a touchstone to really turn to and say, okay, this is the stone where I put all of my confidence for social situations. It's a very grounding stone. It's really wonderful for emotional harmony as well. So if you're able to kind of choose a stone, you could use something like citrine is great, tiger's eye, obsidian. I really like using snowflake obsidian, but you can use these different stones. Black kyanite is fantastic for using them and kind of charging them with the energy that you want to be feeling for this event situation, and then keep them, hopefully they're a little bit smaller, so you can either tuck them in a pocket or your bag or wear them as a piece of jewelry, and charge them before this event with the energy that you want to be feeling. And anytime you're feeling a little doubtful, just hold that stone in your hand, either your necklace or your pocket or your bag, even just touching your bag, and just saying, I access that energy. I access wells of confidence. I access channels of supportive, protective energy. I am safe even when I am being perceived. I am safe even when someone might be judging me. I am safe when I am in a group of people who I don't know. I am safe and protected. I am safe and protected. I protect and care for myself. And also, I am able to recognize that my perceived threat of not belonging is simply faulty wiring. It's simply old circuitry. And if I were to stand here in my light and my power and allow others to recognize who's in here, the vast majority of people are going to be drawn to that. People are drawn to authentic resonance. When you are vulnerable, resonating authentically, that lifts your vibration so high. When you put yourself out of your comfort zone and you're able to say, I accept myself, I love myself, I'm proud of myself, I honor my courage in this circumstance, that lifts your vibration so quickly and easily. And it's just like a magnet. It's just like a magnet. Okay, my love, so I'm going to give you this tree agate for you to hold in your hands, maybe hold at your heart space, and just say, I charge this with my confidence, my strength, my love, my self-love, and my power. Here you go. Beautiful. So you can just put that right at your heart space. Take it into your hands. Just put it at your heart space. I breathe in calm and I release any residual tension. Breathe in calm and release that tension. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I'm so proud of you. It can be so hard to put ourselves out there, to, step into the light of connection. And so when you're able to love yourself enough to show that true self to others, oh my gosh, it's so powerful and it's so healing, and it allows other people to love themselves. When you are authentically resonating, when you're really, if you're nervous at an event, gosh, I'm kind of nervous to be here, actually. I feel a little bit insecure about being in this social situation. That gives other people permission to go, oh, okay, it's okay. It's okay to be human. So I just encourage you to release perfection, accept all of these aspects of yourself, and just know and trust that you are not alone. When you look at everybody else in a situation, just know that everyone is human, and this is part of being human. So really try your best to just ground in your own safety, the ways in which you are safe and protected right here and now, so that in those moments you can really feel free and safe enough to be yourself. Okay, my dear. So hopefully this session was clarifying and helpful. It helped you kind of cleanse and dissolve some of these preconditioned ideas that we have about being seen. If you want me to do a session about that fear of being perceived and seen, a little bit more about that kind of fear of not being perfect, if you have perfectionist tendencies, please do let me know down below. I'm sending you so much love and light. Take really good care of yourself. Take good care of each other. And until we meet again, be so well. Namaste. and just maybe breathe it in. Fill yourself up with that gorgeous, loving energy. Imagine the aroma just swirling in and flowing all through your body. Which can be directed and channeled with laser-like precision to help you accomplish tasks and achieve objectives. Cool. This is going to be a really powerful time for you. 2 super empowering cards. You have this fiery energy, and you have like the earth and the roots and the ancestors. It's like star and earth and fire. Find as comfortable a position as you can. Maybe close your eyes. You could lie down, whatever feels right for you. And let's begin today with gratitude. Whatever position you find yourself in, bring to heart one thing for which you are grateful.